My name is Bob Muravez, and I'm here to talk about life. Where I grew up in Southern California, that the car culture was very well entrenched into everybody's life. My father wasn't able to buy a lot of new stuff, so he was always fixing things. So that's where I got my start. There's a gas station right down the street from where we're talking that I spent evenings with my best friend Bob Moore, who was a manager, and we did a lot of camshaft changing in the small block Chevrolets in 55, 56, and 57. That was the thing you did. You wanted a car that was better than stock, and it kind of like a rumpity-rump noise. And even in high school and that stuff, I had a 53 Corvette that I bought from Betty Grable. And of course, I made a hot rod out of it. There were times when I would take it to Lyons Drag Strip in 1956. And then San Fernando, there was a great drag strip out in San Fernando right by Glen Oaks and Foothill, which is now a swap meet place. It used to be an airfield out there, a small airfield that was turned into a drag strip. But my Corvette got plenty of tickets to where it got taken away from me. I think the vehicle code, the basic speed law is a 22350 is the old code number. I knew it well because I had a lot of stuff on my ticket. I got 28 moving violations in about a 2-year period. Drag racing was first starting. It was all about get the guys off the street, give them a place to race. Wally Parks, did that. Some police officers volunteered their time, and it was very nice to be involved with the beginning of that. I consider myself the beginning of the second generation of drag racing. The first generation of drag racing, the people who started the sport, basically the promoters, the sanctioning bodies, and co-drivers, and the one in particular is Tommy Ivo. He started my career because before I owned a car or had owned an engine to put in a car, I found that if I were to go to help him make his car work or clean or whatever, he'd take me to the races. And that kind of got my start. So I wanted to be like Tommy Ivo. But basically because he was a club member of the Road Kings of Burbank. And that was the place you wanted to end up, is in this car club that had race cars, and fellow members of the thing would help you and you'd help them, and it was one big happy family. In fact, this club was so fantastic, it had its own club car, which meant it had a dragster with a carbureted Chrysler motor in it that ran gas. It was very simple to maintain, and if your car was broken, you could go out with a club car and you could take turns driving it. It wasn't that fast. It was about a 130-mile-an-hour car that ran in about 10.5 seconds. Back then, that wasn't a big deal, but it was good. I felt that why break the car I wanted to go out on dates with when I could start being a race car driver and truly have a designated car that I'd own, or the motor in a car specific for that. And that's when it all came about. So I teamed up with a guy named Don Gady. He bought a race car but didn't want to drive. And I wanted to drive, so I built my first motor, supercharged motor with a 371 supercharger on top, and put it in his race car, and that started my driving career. 59, I was at San Fernando, and Don wanted to take the first pass in the car, but he forgot his helmet, so he borrowed mine, and the helmet pivoted on his head and blinded him. Didn't get hurt, but destroyed the car. The very next week, another friend of mine's had a dragster, but they had broke the motor. So I took my motor and put it in Ed Janke's car, and within a couple of months, Ed Janke got married, and the speed shop down the street in Glendale, Accessories Limited, bought the car with my motor in it, and I started driving it, my very first sponsor. You gotta understand, we didn't get free admission, we paid to get in, so in a sense, we were racing for our own money. They'd be, let's say, a $50 bond up for top gas and a $100 bond up for top fuel. Well, in a $50 bond, they would hand you $37.50, and if you wanted to buy the bond, you'd go to the bank and buy it and keep it for 20 years, and it'd be worth $50. So it was a matter of just putting the money in the race car and put the money in your mouth and your gas tank to get from place to place. So I teamed up with a guy named Kenny Safford. We'd get off work on a Friday, jump over the ridge route into a place called Taft. Taft had a drag strip on an old abandoned airfield, and the only lights at night was a searchlight on the starting line. If you had to work on your car, You basically use the lights off the headlights of your car. And we'd leave there, if we got lucky and went into the final round racing and that stuff for top eliminator, we'd leave there 1 o'clock in the morning, Saturday, and we'd tow up to Half Moon Bay, which is just below San Francisco on the coast. And we'd race there until midnight. And we'd drive all the way back home. You know, that was about a 5.5-hour tow. Didn't have a lot of freeways, a lot of 3-lane highways. And race San Fernando or someplace here. That would be a weekend. Yeah, then we'd go to work and rest up because we were beat. When you went to the drag races, it wasn't about going fast, it was about getting to the finish line before your competitor. You know, sure, the speed and everything kind of helped out, but the lapse time, the ET, and your reactions to the starter leaving the starting line. So even if you had a car that was going slower than your competitor, you can get there first because you're a better driver. That's the whole crux of drag racing, even to this day. Understand too, we're not talking about modern day safety in that. We're talking about everybody being sort of like test pilots. Nobody knew what the car was going to do because there was no sanctioning bodies building cars to specs. Everybody was doing it in the garage. And when you let the clutch out on the starting line, the driver didn't have no idea what to expect on the first time. We had to have a pilot. As you made more horsepower, the weak link of the race car broke. You made that weak link stronger, then it showed the next weak link of the race car, then you made that better. I mean, I've had my heel of my shoe taken off when we had a coupling go through the cowling right by my feet. It was a weak point. That was sort of exciting, but sort of dangerous. So basically, being part of that was very important to me. I got to know the people running the drag strips and that stuff because I was very much involved, living, breathing, sleeping, trying to figure out how to make my car go better so I can step up in ranks and step up in power and step up in class to go faster and quicker and be more competitive and to people I wanted to beat. This whole start in my life filled very, very important things for me in my personal life, and that was to be accomplished and be recognized as something I'm good at. And it was incredible, absolutely incredible time to grow up because all this stuff was happening, and just to be part of that was just fulfilled the need that I personally needed at that time.